I'm so excited to be sitting down with Erica Ramos, the CEO and founder of RestoraScalp. Erica, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for talking with me today. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited to learn more about your product. And listen, I saw something on social media the other day that said I'm running on basically coffee and dry shampoo, and that is 100% the case for me. So obviously, lots of dry shampoos out on the market right now.
Mhm.
Tell me about your product and why it's different.
Dry shampoos up until now are totally just about absorbing oil and covering all of our odor with fragrance. And that is not Restore Scalp. Restore Scalp is actively removing things that cause odor. So our dry shampoo is actually fragrance free because I work in dermatology and I didn't want another thing that people could potentially be allergic to. And fragrance is one of those top things. So we're fragrance free. We're not just soaking up oil. We're actually, with our active ingredient, actively reducing oil over time. We've got ingredients in there that help to exfoliate, clarify, reduce itch, reduce inflammation. And the other big thing, which is a little bit of an uphill kind of learning battle with Restore Scalp, is that we actually want you to get the powder on your scalp, which is the opposite of every other dry shampoo out there because our sole focus is scalp health.
So, in terms of that, what's the best way for people to then apply it so that they're getting the most benefit out of it?
I would say part all the way around like you're about to put up a ponytail and then powder all the way around and just layer that through your scalp.
And that powder really dissolves very well. Like you're not even with someone who has dark hair, you're not left with that white sort of powdery film that a lot of
Mhm.
other dry shampoos, quite frankly, do leave behind.
That is another thing that I love that you just brought up. When we were formulating, our powder was white. And we did get feedback as we were formulating that, hey, could we make it in a color? And because I wanted the powder on the scalp, I decided to make the colors match skin type instead. So that is a little bit of a confusing hurdle that we're finding we're going to have to educate a little bit more on is that the powder is meant to match your scalp. And the reason for that is because we want the powder on your scalp. So I made two skin tones and one to match lighter skin tones and one to match darker skin tones. If you're somewhat in the middle, which I would say, Yasmeen, you are in that middle zone where you really could go either way. You could decide you want the dark roots or the light roots because if we look at your part, it's a lot lighter than
It's
the
a lot
rest of your
lighter. That's
skin.
true.
Mhm. So you really could go either way and then there's people who are going to do what they want to do anyway. Maybe they want it to match their hair because, as they're powdering it, a little bit gets on their hair and they really love that it matches their hair tone more. I do have a client who reached out to me over through this PA Moms group because she couldn't find where to reorder her bottle. She had found us at a PA conference and she was like, "Where's this mom? I need to know how to reorder it." Again, it's another story of I that's the only thing that's ever worked. Where is she? I need another bottle. She got to the website and then everybody else started asking questions on this forum and it came out that she actually uses both bottles. She sprays the light roots on her scalp and then sprays the dark roots a little bit throughout her hair.
Oh,
So you just never know. You could go either way. I mean, my recommendation is to make it match your scalp, but ultimately people are going to choose what they want and find what works best for them.
since it's not going directly on your hair, you're not getting that sticky dryness that I've
Mhm.
found with a lot of dry
Yeah.
shampoos that now you really can't run your fingers through your hair because it's almost like you put a hairspray on it, but this is not meant to go directly on your hair. You're kind of eliminating that aspect.
I didn't want something that added a whole lot of texture or feeling that there was product on the hair. So I made it smooth and silky, and it's still going to add volume like other dry shampoos do, because I know a lot of people use that as a volumizer sometimes, but you're just not going to feel it. It's going to be there and it's going to be kind of secretly doing all of its little jobs that it can do, and you're just not even going to know it's there.
Let's talk about when you started manufacturing this or when you started the idea. Can you walk me back in time and just talk about what first sparked that idea and what you really wanted the product to be at first inception?
Yeah. So I have a long history of being in clinic. I've been a physician assistant or physician associate for over 21 years. And so I have treated dandruff, seborrheic dermatitis, and psoriasis throughout all different aspects of medicine. And as I shifted into dermatology, I found that I was having that conversation about the over the counter options and the medications that were available for dandruff. And a lot of them were frustrated because they found that nothing was working. And in my opinion, it was that people just don't leave their medications on long enough for them to actually work. And so I was having this conversation numerous times a day on, you know what, I actually want you to use this as a mask. I want you to leave it on longer. You're rinsing it off too quickly. And after having that conversation 1,000 times over, I thought, you know what? Why don't I just make something that stays on the scalp and change change the conversation?
So, this is really not just a dry shampoo, but you're also targeting specific dermatological issues.
So we are an over-the-counter medication, and that said, we do get manufactured in a facility that is compliant with the FDA and inspected by the FDA. We follow all the FDA rules for an over-the-counter medicine. Very exciting thing about that is that you can actually use your FSA, HSA account to pay for RestoraScalp because it is a medication. But that
Amazing.
said, you don't have to have dandruff, seborrheic dermatitis, or psoriasis to use it. You know, a lot of us are using, for example, retinoids and retinols on our face, not because we have acne, but because we just want skin health. And salicylic acid does that same thing. It actively turns over the skin and exfoliates and clarifies and gets rid of dead skin cell and debris that we should be kind of getting rid of from our skin anyway. And that salicylic acid does the same thing for our scalp, which is just making our scalp healthier. So again, you don't have to have dandruff, seborrheic dermatitis, or psoriasis to use Restore Scalp. You could just be somebody that wants a healthier scalp.
So, this is really something that everyone can use. It's not specific for if you are suffering from dandruff or flakes or things along those lines.
Absolutely.
Although I
It's
have
for
to
everyone.
say, it feels like people, I mean, not feels like it definitely, people are like embarrassed to have dandruff, or it almost feels like it's a bad word. I'm just going to say it. I have dandruff. My hair is my scalp is flaky. And I have to figure, I can't be in the minority here, right? Like,
No, you're not. Actually, 50% of the world population has dandruff. Dandruff is just a non-inflammatory version of seborrheic dermatitis, which is a more like that greasy scale and redness and inflammation. But dandruff, like I said, 50% of the world population has it. And I agree. I think people are afraid to say they have dandruff. So they'll say, I have dry scalp or I have flakes. And I'm going to raise my hand with you too and let the world know that I have dandruff as well. And so I use Restore Scalp to keep my scalp from flaking.
I've definitely noticed also it maybe is worse as the weather gets a little bit colder. Is that something you need to be adjusting your hair care routine with the temperature change, with the season changing?
Yeah, definitely. As we get cooler, drier weather, then of course our scalp's going to dry a little bit more as well. And we're going to get a little bit more water loss through our scalp. And so that in turn just makes everything drier. And so in those times, it might feel weird to say, I want to put a dry shampoo on a dry scalp. Some people might think, why would I do that? I'm already dry. But the key point is there's a lot of dead skin cell and debris that builds up on our scalp every day. And so although Restore Scalp is a dry powder, it's doing everything it can do to actually exfoliate and get rid of that dryness and those flakes and those scales. So it's actively making it better.
It sounds almost like a clarifying shampoo, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep, exactly. So clarifying shampoos will use the same or similar ingredients for clarifying.
And then how many times would you say if I wash on hypothetically speaking, if I only wash my hair on Sundays, I'm only washing my hair on Sundays, if we're being honest. How many times throughout the week would you say that it's okay to use it?
So, really, anywhere between like 2 to 5 times a week. And it really depends on people's wash routines. Everybody's a little bit different. So, I say I wash my hair probably 3 times a week, and I use my dry shampoo, Restore Scalp, 2 to 3 times a week. And that keeps my scalp clear. I tend to have really light, flaky, just minimal light flaking. And so I think 2 times a week is great versus somebody who maybe has a whole lot more scale may want to use it closer to that 5 times a week to get their scalp clear. So, and then of course, somebody with psoriasis, those are thicker plaques. So it's going to take a lot more persistence and use of that product to whittle down on those plaques. So, really just depends on hair type, I believe, as well. And women, we wash our hair less because it takes a whole lot longer to dry and
So
style.
long. So
And
long.
yes. And so, and then on top of that, you would take somebody who has curly hair or tightly coiled hair, and that's an additional burden of having to, straighten that depending on the style that they choose. And of course, you wouldn't want to put something wet back on top of your scalp when you've put in all this effort to straighten it out. So, those are reasons why people have that extended wash schedule. Let's say you're a washer every day because you have shorter hair or it dries really quickly, or you feel like it's just too oily in between washes, even though you're washing every day. You can still put Restore Scalp on once your hair's dry, and that medication's sitting on your scalp all day long rather than, like we said before, getting rinsed off right after you put it on.
What feedback have you been getting from your clients and other people that you've been working with and showing this product to so far?
Mhm. So, when we were manufacturing, one that sticks out in my mind is that I had one of my nurses who had a teenager with pretty significant dandruff. She had been through every over the counter medication that she could try. She'd been in and gotten prescriptions as well. And we had samples that we were trialing as we were manufacturing. So she took some home to her daughter. And when the bottle ran out, her daughter was actively trying to dismantle and cut open the bottle to get the little tiny bits of powder left over in there just so she could continue to use it. And she was tearful, telling her mom, like, oh, can you please get another bottle of this? It's the only thing that's ever worked.
That's
So
so nice.
yeah, so that's when when we were testing in the testing phases, and that's when I fully understood that this is actually something very special. I knew the ingredients that I chose were going to be beneficial. I just, it was really powerful to see the impact it had in that person's life. I have it for sale in the dermatology clinic that I work in, and we've had people come back in for repeat orders on the bottle and again saying this is the only thing that I've ever found works. So, we're getting really good feedback from the product.
That's so exciting.
Mhm.
So I'll speak for myself personally. My hair is really dry in addition to the dandruff. So sometimes I will be hesitant to put something on my hair that will say this is going to exfoliate your hair for the same reason that you touched on a little earlier, thinking is this going to dry my hair out even more, and then it might fix one problem but exacerbate another.
Right. So with the ingredients that I did choose, again, the active ingredient, salicylic acid, super gentle. I use it on my most sensitive skin, acne patients, and other disease processes where we want to exfoliate. And so it's one of the most gentle ingredients. So that's our active ingredient. But then when we look at all the other ingredients, we do have natural remedies that actually help with moisture and anti-itch and anti-inflammation. And so while we're actively exfoliating, getting rid of dead skin cells, we're also helping kind of repair that barrier as well with some of those herbal remedies that are in there. And though you're worried about the health of your hair and maybe drying it out more, what we're doing is we're actively getting rid of dead skin cell and debris and pollen and hairspray and gel and everything else people put on their scalps. And we're getting rid of it by exfoliating and clarifying it. And then we're actually making the hair follicle healthier over time.
going through all of the specifications and qualifications to qualify as a medicated dry shampoo, get FDA approval and everything could not have been an easy task. What was it like starting? Were there big hurdles you had to overcome and what was it like just getting to market?
Yeah. So before even launching, it was about a 3-year process for us. In the beginning, I'd been in clinic for years, and so I didn't necessarily know how to go from A to Z on making a product. And that said, being an FDA product, like you said, there's a lot of rules and regulations that we have to follow. And so that was accomplished by surrounding myself with a team. So I researched the ingredients that I wanted to use based on medical literature and then picked those ingredients. And then I hired a chemist who helped me formulate the product. And then once we got that formulation, then I also had to find somebody who manufactures under the FDA monograph guidelines. And so they have to be inspected and follow all of the testing requirements that the FDA requires. We could go on and on of that whole process, but it really is surrounding yourself with a team of people who know what to do. And just having that medical knowledge on the background is what helped me. Now, I did have naysayers along the way that I have had to not really listen to. So I would say this was my Shark Tank idea, right? We all have those ideas where we're like, "Oh my gosh, I could make this and this would be an amazing product." And then when I realized it has never been made before, then you have that little bit of self-doubt of why hasn't it been made before? Or has it really been made and I just can't find it? And then we went to a manufacturer I wanted to kind of keep within San Antonio. So I went to a local manufacturer and met with these older gentlemen, and they were like, it's a horrible idea, walk away. But they're from a older generation, both of them missing a lot of hair on the top of their head, and they couldn't see past why somebody would not want to wash their hair every day. And so,
Maybe not your target demographic necessarily.
not necessarily, not to say there's not a ton of men in the world that would love to give their hair a break as
Sure.
well and use a dry shampoo. But I did have that in this process where people said, bad idea, walk away. And you just have to, when you're the person that's got this idea and this spark, sometimes you have to push past some of those things. It may have been easy to quit several times along the way. You just have to believe in yourself and keep pushing. And believe in your product, right? I know it's a great product. It works really well. And I'm just amazed that I was able to get from where we started to now, and there's just so much more to come still. I'm still learning every day.
What kind of encouragement would you give to another entrepreneur, a female entrepreneur who's just starting off and likely hearing similar things?
Yeah. I would say, one, do your homework, know your value and what you're bringing to the table. And then if you've done your homework, you know that your idea is solid. And, I would listen to other people too. I wouldn't just listen to one person telling you that this isn't going to work. So expand your reach, get other people's opinions, but you also just ultimately have to trust yourself and hopefully have some people around you that are supporting you and backing you up. And if you don't exactly know what you're getting yourself into, then it's time to build a team around yourself and of people who have the experience to do what it is you're setting out to do.
So, Erica, tell me what is next for Restore a Scalp? What do you have that you're looking forward to in the future? Obviously, you have a lot going on right now, but always good to look to the future.
Yeah, we came up on CNN.com within 49 products that are worth the hype. So that's exciting. We are gaining a little bit of traction with that. We only launched in November. And so there's a lot of people that don't even know we exist. So we need to continue to grow our reach and have people out there understand that there's this great product they can use. The other thing is that we've had we want to listen to people's feedback. So we are new and we want to listen to, hey, do we want a smaller bottle? We've had people say, you know, I would love to have a smaller bottle. The current bottle, even though it's small, it's mighty. I tell people it is,
I think
yes,
this is a good size.
and
It
a
fits in
really
your travel bag.
and it will last you a good 4 to 6 months. I use it twice a week. It lasts me 6 months. Some people would like a smaller version of that so that they can try it. So we're kicking around the idea of having a 1 to 2 month bottle, and that would easily fit in people's purse, just a little bit smaller. And so that might be something that comes up within the next year as well. We just had a meeting yesterday with our website developer. And so the website's getting a whole new look. So that's really exciting. So we're going to optimize how that works and make it easier for people to purchase and find our ingredients and, just be able to scroll through the website a lot easier. And then for the overall company, I've got a lot of ideas for up and coming products. So once we get to a point where Restore Scalp's going really well, there's going to be some other really exciting products coming up.
Well, speaking of your website, if people don't know, where can they find you? Where can they find your products and purchase them to try themselves?
Yeah. So our website's RestoraScalp.com. You can also find more information on our social media, which is at RestoraScalp across the social media platforms and YouTube. And then we're also on Amazon, so you can find us there as well.
Thank you so much, Erica. This is so exciting. And as someone who has tried the product, I can say firsthand, I love that my hair feels clean after using a dry shampoo, which doesn't seem like something that's crazy, but I've tried a million different products and I've never found something that you can still run your fingers through your hair and it doesn't have a fragrance and just you feel cleaner. Your hair feels cleaner after using it, which should be in the title, shampoo, but that's not always the case.
hmm Well, I love the feedback. I'm so happy that you use the product and that you love the product. And I really, really appreciate you taking the time to do this interview with me. I'm excited to see it.